Oh, hi! I'm glad to see you again. It's good to be with you, and welcome to this week's Immanuel-Kids. You caught me doing something that I absolutely love to do. One of my favorite things is doing pottery. It's a fairly new hobby for me. It's something that I haven't spent a lot of time doing, and so I'm still really learning. And I have a cat coming here to join me and help me do pottery. This is Scout. Go ahead. But doing pottery has become one of my favorite things. I love making things, and like I said, I'm still kind of a beginner. I've just been doing this for maybe about a year. Well, it was a little bit longer. I started a long time ago and had to take some time off, but I've been back at it for about a year, so I'm still a complete beginner. I'm making a butter dish. I've never done that before. And so I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to put it together. But it's really fun to put this together. Have you ever started something new? I bet you have, because I know some of you play instruments and I know how well some of you play. And think about that first time that you picked up your instrument, whether it was a saxophone or a clarinet, whether it was piano or violin. You know, I bet when you picked it up, you didn't even know where your fingers went. I bet you didn't know much about it. And that's okay because you practice. Think about some of you who do sports. I bet you the first time you ever played with a soccer ball, you didn't really know the right way to kick it. I bet you didn't even know what the rules of soccer were. Or the first time you picked up a baseball bat, I bet it felt really weird in your hands. Well, to be honest, that's a little bit the way clay is for me. I love it. It's fun to play with, but I am learning all different ways of how to work with clay. When I first went to my very, very first class in pottery, I had just thoughts that I was going to go in, I was going to make beautiful bowls and plates and all kinds of things. Shall I show you what I made? Well, I didn't even make anything the first week because I was just learning how to do things. But my very first thing I did in pottery was this tiny little bowl. It's not all that exciting, but I'm just so proud of it because it was the first thing I made. It's way too thick and it's very uneven, and any good potter will tell you that this isn't a very good bowl. But I love it, and I use it for things. I use it for ice cream. I use it for if I'm just, just want a little bit of something to eat. It's tiny enough for that, but that was the first thing I made. And even though I've been doing this for a year, I still haven't made that big, beautiful bowl, or that perfect plate, or that wonderful teapot that I imagine making someday. If you go on to YouTube, maybe with your parents' help, you can watch lots of amazing potters make these incredible things, and they look so easy. But it's hard, and it takes a lot of practice. Just like playing the piano or the violin or the saxophone or the clarinet or whatever, or learning how to play soccer or baseball or hockey or any of those kinds of things. Whatever it is you do, to do it well takes time and it takes practice. That's okay, because there's joy in learning all those things. Even though sometimes it's not all that much fun to practice, it is what makes us better and gives us more and more experience to do it. When it comes to God and calling us his children, and when it comes to following Jesus, I think there we need some practice too. It's not always the easiest thing to do. I mean, after all, sometimes we try new things, new ministries, new ways of doing things. We can come up with ideas of how to help people, how to help those around us. But if we've never done it, it might be a little bit scary to do it first. It might be a little bit hard to do. We might not even be thinking of all the things that we can do to help people around us. But the more we do it, the more we practice, and the more that we can think of things to do, and the better we get at it. That's what it is to be a disciple. You know, when Jesus called those first disciples and said, "Come with me and I'm going to teach you to fish for people," They didn't know what they were getting into. They didn't know what that meant. They didn't know what it meant to follow Jesus. But the more they were with Jesus, the more they learned. That's kind of the way it is for us. We hear lots and lots of stories about how Jesus taught people, how Jesus healed people, how Jesus fed people, all of those kinds of things, and we learn from them. And we learn that, well, maybe we can begin to do the same things, that we can help people. We can teach people. We can tell people that God loves them. We can feed people. And we come up with all different ways. So we keep practicing. We keep working together. We keep learning together. All of those kinds of things. So it just takes practice. You know, a long time ago, there were people who came to Jesus and said, so what is the most important thing for us to learn to be God's people? And he said, well, it's to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And he said, and there's something else that's just like it. It's to love your neighbor. Those, I think, are the most important things when we think about what it means to be a disciple of Jesus, is to love God and love our neighbor. And that's what we practice doing. We practice loving God by praying, by learning about God, by coming together, by singing about God, all the things we do, by saying thank you to God, by using the wonderful gifts God has given to us to help others. And we love our neighbor by helping them. And the more we do it, the more we're going to be able to do, because we just keep practicing. So I think I'm going to get back to my butter dish. I should show you some of the things. When I first started making pottery, I showed you my dish. It wasn't very exciting. I've practiced a little more, and now I have made some other things. I have a lot of things I've made. I've made some plates. I've made some mugs. Here's a mug I made. It was a beginning mug, but I still love it, even though it's not perfect. And that's the other thing, that when we talk about serving our neighbor, we might not always do it perfectly, but that's okay. We can still help. We can still make a difference. We can still love our neighbor, even when we're not perfect. And that's pretty important to remember. So now I'm going to get back to my butter dish, figure out what to do, and maybe I'll show you what it looks like if I figure this out and get it done. So go practice. Go practice your musical instruments. Go practice sports. Go practice art. Go practice whatever it is makes you happy. But also practice taking care of your neighbor, taking care of your family. Practice being a disciple of Jesus. Thanks for being with me. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I hope you have a great week, and I will be thinking about you. I will be praying for you, and I hope that you will pray for each other. So have a great week, and God bless you. Bye-bye.